Yes, people. Welcome to another episode of Griggam. And today we are going to talk about diabetes. So just grab a chair and nobody move because you're at the right place. See? When most people hear about diabetes, all them think about is sugar. But that is not entirely correct. So make we shed some light on the topic here. See? Diabetes is really a problem with how the body control and use glucose. Glucose is a type of sugar where your body use for energy. This comes from a whole heap of different kind of food. Not only sweets. It comes from rice, yam, bread, banana, biscuit, dumpling, potato, pasta, fruits, and also some sugary drinks. All of those foods and much more can be broken down into glucose. So when you eat, some of the glucose they enter into the bloodstream. Glucose in the bloodstream is not automatically bad because your body need the glucose. Your brain, your muscles, and your organs need the energy for function. That energy, which is the glucose, only can get to them if it travel through the bloodstream. The problem start when the glucose stay in the bloodstream for too long. That's how the problem start. So now we could look at how the body normally control the glucose in the bloodstream. We have one little organ behind the stomach what we call the pancreas. You see inside of the organ we have some special cell we call the beta cell. And them cell they produce a hormone what we call insulin. Insulin act like a traffic controller. You see when you eat and the glucose rise, the pancreas release insulin and the insulin signal the muscle and other tissue to use up some glucose for energy. Think about it like this. The bloodstream are the roadway. See? You see the glucose are the fuel where you transport pan the roadway. You see the insulin are the traffic controller where determine which part the fuel go. Alright? A very important point to note in all this is that the insulin also signal the liver to store some glucose for later use when we need it. Alright? So the system is very efficient if it work properly. So anytime you eat for a long time and you get hungry, the liver release back some of the glucose in the bloodstream so you can have little energy to go and do your thing. So now you recognize that the body a balance two things. It a balance the glucose going into the bloodstream and it a balance the glucose leaving the bloodstream. Alright? So you see anytime the balance they get off balance, a diabetes develop. Alright? This can happen in a two major way. First, the body produce little or no insulin. Second, the body still produce insulin, but the tissues are not responding properly to the insulin. So now we call them the type 1 or type 2 diabetes. See? So we could talk about type 1 diabetes. Okay. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. See? That means the system was supposed to protect the body, which is the immune system, that mistakenly attack the beta cell them in the pancreas where produce the insulin. Now them the cell they get damaged and them can't produce the insulin anymore. So without enough insulin, the glucose now linger in the bloodstream and the body now start search for another source of energy because the organs them need energy. The body start use fat. No, this body start break down fat to get some energy because come hell or high water, the body need energy to continue to perform. Now here goes another problem now. When the body break down fat, it produce a substance we call ketones. You see, when too much ketones accumulate in the bloodstream, the blood become very, very, very acidic. And this is a medical emergency, what we call diabetic ketoacidosis. So, three takeaways for type 1 diabetes. 1. It is an autoimmune disease. 2. It is not caused by eating too much sugar. And 3. People with type 1 diabetes need insulin. Now make we step across to type 2 diabetes. In a type 2 diabetes, the body usually still produces insulin especially in the early stage. But the muscles and the liver tissues, them not responding effectively to the insulin that is produced. Alright? The little fancy term for that is insulin resistance. Okay? So take a note of that. During the early stage of type 2 diabetes, the pancreas is normally able to keep up with the extra production of insulin, and as a result it somewhat control the blood sugar level and make it be normal. You understand? But over time this capacity diminish and the cells them get weaker. That is the beta cells them in the pancreas get weaker, and some of them start to die. Now remember, type 2 diabetes have a lot of contributory factors. Seeing ranges from genetics, physical activity, body fat distribution, age, diet, and a lot of other biological factors. Seeing you also have gestational diabetes. This happens during pregnancy. See, during pregnancy, hormones can cause the body to be more resistant to insulin, and that forces the pancreas to produce extra insulin to compensate for that resistance. All right, but this normally resolves after pregnancy. Now, make we look on diabetes in terms of its three classic symptoms, which are polyuria, polydipsia, and polyphagia. Okay? Make we explain them. Now, polyuria is frequent urination. Okay? Now, what causes this? Remember now, your kidney continuously filter blood. So normally the glucose enter the kidney filtering system and is reabsorbed back into the bloodstream. But when the glucose becomes too high, the kidney cannot reabsorb everything. See? Now some of that glucose is spilled over into the urine. And remember, wherever glucose go, water follows. The extra glucose causes the person to produce more urine. So the sequence is high glucose in the blood, kidney overwork, glucose spill in the urine, water follow the glucose, person urinate frequently. So now the second symptom, which is polydipsia, we mean frequent thirst. When the person keep on losing so much water because of the urination, then becomes dehydrated, and that is what causes the excessive thirst. Yeah, so the excessive thirst and the urination are directly connected. Now we look upon polyphagia, and this means frequent hunger. Alright? This is a little bit more tricky, but it goes like this. The body perceives that it is not receiving enough usable fuel because the glucose is stuck in the bloodstream and the body cannot use it. So the body trigger the hunger reflex. So the body tell itself, say, okay, I'm hungry. So it trigger the hunger reflex to make you continue eating. Alright? At first, this might seem strange because you say, okay, how the person eat so much food, but at the same time, them still lose weight. This happen because the body start breaking down fat when it cannot use the glucose for energy. So the person start lose body fat. The person is also losing calories because the glucose is leaving the body in the urine. Those are the classic symptoms of diabetes. But remember, high blood glucose can also cause fatigue, blurred vision, repeated infection, and also slow wound healing. Alright? When all is said and done, the greatest danger with diabetes mostly happens gradually over several years. Yeah, man, persistently high blood glucose over 7 years gradually degrades and damages the blood vessels and the nerves. Damage to blood vessels in the eyes can contribute to vision loss. Damage to the kidney filtering structure can lead to chronic kidney disease. Damage to nerves can cause burning, tingling, pain, or numbness, especially in the feet. And crucially, diabetes can also increase the risk of heart attack, stroke, or poor circulation. This is why a cut on the foot can cause dangerous harm to a person with poorly controlled diabetes. Yeah, the nerve damage can even prevent the person from feeling that the cut is there from the first place. And that is one of the main reasons why doctors always recommend that people with diabetes check their feet regular for cuts and bruises. Poor circulation reduces the delivery of oxygen and nutrients, which further interfere with the body's ability to fight infection and repair the tissues. So, the core purpose of diabetes treatment is not just to make the glucose number look good. You understand? The real purpose is to protect the eyes, the kidneys, the heart, the brain, the nerves, the blood vessels, and the feet. Yeah. So because diabetes has so much contributory factors, the treatment have to be wide. Seeing it have to focus on food choices, also physical activity, weight management, medication, insulin, and also glucose monitoring. Physical activity is one of the most emphasized treatment because working muscle uses glucose and usually they become more responsive to the insulin. So physical activity is one of the key in diabetes management. So make we break down diabetes now in a nutshell, all right? Food and the liver put glucose into the bloodstream. Insulin direct the glucose into use or storage into the liver. Okay? With diabetes, insulin is missing, insufficient, or not working effectively. Glucose is therefore accumulated into the blood. Over time, the excess glucose damages the blood vessel, the nerves, and the organs. So diabetes is not just simply a sugar problem. All right? Once you understand the relationship between glucose, insulin, the pancreas, the liver, and the cells, then diabetes start make more sense. Thank you for watching, and I hope that was informative. Until then, compare with Griggam.